Hello knitters, Faylin from Strands Knitting Studio in San Clemente, California. And today I have what's on my hooks, 2 classes and another tutorial, so stay tuned. On my hook. That means I'm crocheting. So we found this adorable little coaster pattern. And the leaves aren't anything good, but they put the beads on, so that was really cool. So you've got these leaves. That's the back side. Here's the leaves. Yep. So you got leaves. You make 4 of them. I haven't blocked them yet, which will help the holes up. And so you make 4 of them. I think I've done 6 and I have plenty to do another. So you can get 2 sets of the coasters or do more of them because I still have quite a bit of yarn left. In one skein of this is the coastal cotton. And then it has, I'll put it up here, it has a holder, a leaf holder. It's so cute. And so I've started that now out of the gray. And you would be able to get multiples out of here because it's only, you're only doing the one. So there's my, that's the beginning of my little holder for my coasters. So, yay. So this will be a class coming up. I'm waiting until we're about to get a whole bunch of colors of this yarn in. So I'm waiting for that to come in and then I'll schedule the class so I know for sure that it's here because we don't know exactly when that's going to be. So this class is coming up and I'll let you know as soon as the yarn comes in. The next class coming up is June 8th, and it's the shawl class. It's the second one of the shawl class. You've all seen this all the time. So the biggest thing is if you haven't started it and you wanted to come in and do it, but you haven't done that yet, you still have lots of time. I mean, this is just a very, very couple of weeks now, and you've got all the way to June 8th and beyond. You can do this at your own speed. So anyways, this is all about learning lots of different things. There's 5 classes. We've had 1, so now there's 4 classes. The next one is June 8th, which is a Sunday, and it would be from 10 to 12. So just text me or come in or call in or come in. Mostly come in and get your yarn, get it wound, and then you'll need to do a workshop with me or private, but you can do it in a workshop and to get this started. Because the starting of this, most of you haven't done. There's this, see all that brown striping? That's called a tab, and it's how we start shawls now. So that this is flat and not like wanting to do this because you've done some increasing stuff. So you start with a tab and then this is pretty simple and you're going to finish the whole striping section. Yay. So the yarn is fingering, and if you want it bigger, you could do a DK, sport DK. If you wanted it bigger, you could do that. So these down here, the bottom 2 rows are fingering, and then we have earth fingering over there. And yeah, so come and join us if you haven't and you really wanted to. Then come on in anytime now and get your yarn, get started, come to a workshop so I can get you started. And the next class is June 8th. Next class is June 14th from 12 to 2, which means it's Saturday, and that's the sweater class, our ongoing sweater classes. And I'm going to talk about Hanui again because I've had like 2 or 3 people now start it in the last week or so, and they're having so much fun with this pattern. It's such a great pattern. It's a very easy pattern. It moves relatively quickly, especially if you go to the tutorial and watch the tutorial after this about knitting faster. Yes. So this, I'm going to say it again, and probably last time I will for a while, but there's so much love for this sweater. The yarn is amazing, the Hanui wool silk blend. It feels more like silk than wool. It's beautiful, beautiful yarn, all natural colors. We still have some sweaters worth in here, and we can't get it necessarily all the time. It took us a year to get this batch in. So if you're still thinking about it, this is a really good sweater to do. And of course, you don't have to do it out of the Hanui. You can do it out of anything that's worsted. It's a worsted weight yarn, and you need just a worsted weight yarn. So you can change it to anything else if you like to. But it's a great sweater. It's really a pretty good beginning sweater because it's rectangles again. You're in the circle. You do this, you start down here, you do these, and then you put it in a circle, and then you're knitting until you get to here. No, you're knitting until you get to here, and then you have this rib that goes across the top. And then these are rectangles again. So it's a very, very beginner-friendly sweater. And so it's well worth, trying this out and having it ready for the fall. Because you guys sort of knit now to have it ready for the fall, I know. Sort of have to do things off seasons. I would sort of do tops now and get a few tops done because they're usually much faster than a full sweater is. And then you end up back in sweater land, especially if you have air conditioning, because we know here September and October are not cool. But you sort of have to do that in order to have stuff to wear for the fall, just because these take a little bit longer, All right, so that's the sweater class, June 14th from 12 to 2. So today I have a tutorial for knitting faster. And I'm only going to talk about two different things. This is going to only pertain to people that carry their yarn in the right hand, or a thrower, or a continental. And not continental. And then continental is where you hold the yarn in your left hand. I don't know that either of these, well, I know that holding your yarn won't work. I don't know if the other tip is going to help you or not, but you could try it. But I have a feeling it doesn't because of the way your stitches are orientated. So with that being said, so one of the really interesting ways I've figured out how to go faster, and I've never heard anybody talk about this, and I don't know why it works, but it does, is I hold this needle like this, and I actually move my left needle. So mostly we use our right needle go in like this, right? And we're moving our right needle, and the left is being pretty stable. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to hold this, and it's not up like this. It's like almost, horizontal. And I'm going to push this down on my needle. So I'm going to go, that's down on my needles around, and then I'm using the left-hand needle to move it up and over. So this one goes down, wrap, up, and over. Let's see if I can show you this way too so you can see it. Down, so I'm pushing this down. This isn't moving. Watch my hand. You can see my left hand's moving, but my right hand's staying. So push it down, wrap it, and then bring this up and over. And as you come over, you actually end up pushing the stitch down, which is a good thing. And then up and over. Push it in, wrap, up, and over. Now again, I'm not quite sure why this works so well, but it does. I just think there's actually a little bit less movement. Yeah, I'm not sure why this works so well, but it does. So one more time for the last bit of stitches here. So the last bit of stitches, you're gonna, now I do like move this hand a little bit just to get in the right position to do this sometimes until I get going. And that's down, a wrap, up, and over. And just do it really slow. So you know that swatch I talked about last week? You can practice this on your swatch. And do it really slow. So if you do it very slowly and methodically, and that means you're pretty much doing it right all the time, then your hands will pick it up faster. If you're going too fast and you keep sort of glitching and stuff, then it takes the hands way longer to figure this out. So down, around, up, and over. Down, around, up, and over. Down, around, up, and over. So that's a very, very simple tip, and it really does make a difference. So the other thing you're doing is you're gradually, now if you're a beginning knitter, I don't want you going up on the tip of your needles quite yet. But if you've knitted for a while and you just want to, do a little bit faster, keeping things up by the tips, and you got to be careful because you can't tighten it down on the tip. But in the least amount of motion, like you don't want to be going big giant motions like this. That just takes up a lot of time and a lot of, that's very time consuming when you're thinking about efficiency over thousands of stitches, because that's really all we're talking about. How to make your movement more efficient over thousands of stitches, which, microseconds make a big difference, I know it's hard to even wrap your head around that, but so keeping your knitting at the tips of your needles. But notice I do go all the way down here. Wish I could figure out this a little better. So, but you you're still going down, but also everything's, I'm not going that far down, but when I do this, it's now down past this little, as Christine calls it, the sweet spot, where the needle, tapers out and then it stays this width. And so the stitch has to get down. If you are stacking like this, then your stitches are going to be too tight. You're not going to be able to move them over the bigger needle. So make sure you're not just knitting and keeping these right hand, this one, your left, my right hand needle, or probably is my right, because I'm going to switch it so it is. But if you do this, when you're on your tips, then now these stitches are much tighter than these. These are much tighter. All right, so you're going to keep on your tips, but make sure you get it down past the sweet spot. With doing it with the left hand, it sort of automatically does, because you're just sort of shoving it down there. I'm still just moving my left hand for the most part. Okay, that's tip number 2. Those 2 tips, you really didn't have to change the way you actually knit. You're just sort of giving it, a little bit of a tweak. This actually if you don't do this, this actually is going to change, and you'll have to practice it, because your tension's going to get tighter to begin with. Always does. But usually listens up as your hand gets used to what you're doing. So, and it's the way I hold my yarn. And it's the way a lot of people, it's not just this. This is one place I'm not unusual. Okay, so you're going to put your hand behind the yarn in front here, okay? And it's a scooping. So it's a scooping towards you motion. It's not a lot of people just do this, like just put it in between. It's not just in between your fingers. So that's if you're, scooping from front to back. I want you to scoop from back to front. Okay, so you're going to go in and notice I'm very high up. I am not doing this down here because now I have way too much. So I'm very close to all my hand stuff. I'm right here. Okay, I'm scooping, and I'm going to turn my hand around. I'm still here. I haven't pulled out to here. Scooping, turn my hand around, and you're going to close these, at least the little finger down. I tend to close several. And then my index finger just goes straight under. I'm not scooping there. I'm just going straight under. So it's just laying on the top of my finger. Here, it's wrapped around my finger. I don't want it wrapped. I'm just laying it on top of my finger. Okay? So, and from the back, scooping, your palm goes down, your fingers stay straight. And then you take the index finger and you go under. And now you can close your hand up. So here's my hand. So this is what's really holding the yarn. Nothing else is holding the yarn. I can be up like this. I still have tension. And, but that's how everything closes down. My index finger is way up here. My thumb's about there, and then everything falls down. So this is this feels very natural way to sort of hold things. You don't want everything up here. You just want your index finger up here. Okay, so then you still have to do everything else. So all your differences is just this. So there's 2 ways to do this. So this is the way I do it, because I have short fingers. I've decided I have to do it this way because I have short fingers compared to the other way. If you have like the long fingers, the other way is probably better. If you got short fingers like me, stick to this one. So I've got it. I'm about to wrap it. So I still let go of my hand like I normally do. And I just go around the top, and then I'm right back here. Okay, and I pull it through. And so I go in, around the top, pull it back through. Now, the trick to this whole thing is, 1, the string needs to be up on your nail bed, not down here, because then it becomes a whole, like there's a whole hand thing that has to go on there. So you need the tension, so this is up on your nail bed. And then when you wrap, you don't let that much, matter of fact, I'm not letting anything go down here. I'm just letting this, so you can see the yarn sort of move across my finger and then down and then moves. Now it's moving, and it's moving all the way, but it's very little, because if I do too much, if I really let it move, now my finger's way down here. I don't want it way down here. It has to stay up here. So the feel thing, once you get it going, is that you're just letting enough go so that it goes around the top, and your fingers stay up at the tips. So fingers being up at the tips is huge for knitting faster. Everything's just up here. And as you get faster, the movements get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, Now, if you have longer fingers, I'll show you this other one because it is probably a bit faster, but I just can't do it comfortably. Okay, so the difference is you're going to have space here between the needle and the thumb, and this is called flicking. You're just going to flick it across the top of the needle. So it's the same thing, but because you have you do this, a lot of people don't have to really let go of their needles. I can't do it without letting go of my needles. But ladies with longer fingers some people have their finger way out like that, which I guess, yeah, see, I still have to, yeah, I still do that. But that's flicking. And same thing, you still can do everything with the left-hand needle down, then you just flick it across, and then up and over. Down, flick it across, up and over. Down, flick it across, up and over. Down, flick it across, up and over. But you can see how that's a pretty good move. And a ton of people, there's lots and lots of people that do it this way. But when I was looking these up, I just was looking at their fingers. I'm going, well, she has really long fingers. Oh, she has really long fingers. I have short, stubby fingers, short, stubby toes. This is not okay. So once again, so this is the way I do it. Okay, wait, let me show you once again. Okay, so you're gonna scoop from the back of the yarn, scoop, turn your hand over and just put your index finger underneath. And then you can have your hand settle down and down so that it gets more yarn. And then you're just doing it, not letting hardly any yarn move through your hand. It's like 1/8 of an inch of yarn that moves, just moving enough to get over the top of the needle. And then the wrap takes that slack up and you end up right back where you started. Okay. Okay, and then as you get faster and faster, again, the whole left hand thing. I alternate a lot with the left hand. I don't do it consistently yet, because as soon as you start thinking about something else, your hand's going to go back doing what it's used to doing. But just when you think about it, it doesn't seem to change tension at all, so that's not a problem. All right, now then, you're going to hold the yarn exactly the same way for flicking. Set it up exactly the same way. Let your needle drop. And then under, but the difference is your finger's going to be way further away. You're going to let a lot more yarn go. But still, you're not. And yes, you may need to do this. Let's see, okay, wait, let me get myself going here. This is how you feel when you're trying something new. You're like going, oh my God, my fingers aren't working. There we go. So you can also see I'm holding way further down on my needle. Now, some people actually, I think, put this finger sort of up here. Yeah, but that works really well. So I suggest flicking if you get it and can get it down. I think it is a tad faster than mine is, but I can go pretty fast with mine. And then if that's just not working for you for whatever reason, then there's always just the close one where you don't have any link between your finger and the needle. And for me, this is fast enough. This is good. So again, I talked about this not too long ago, but I push all my stuff up, my needle stitches up, my finger here sort of scoots things up as I go, sort of scoots. See, as I go off here, this finger is pushing up. And as I go off here, this finger is pushing up. And as I go off here, okay, and that would be both with everything. So there you go. There's a few ideas on how to get more efficient with your knitting. And that's it for today. I hope you found the tutorial useful. I think it is, especially if you just practice on that practice swatch. And if you didn't see that last week, go to last week's video. But basically, you did a swatch, any yarn, like medium yarn, size 8 needle, and cast on 30 stitches, and it's your practice swatch. So anything you're having issues with, like practicing different decreases, increases, any kind of stitch pattern, taking out your knitting, taking out your purling, picking up stitches, and knitting faster. So you can practice knitting faster with it. So that's it for this week, and I hope to see you in the studio real soon. Bye.